The Chennai-Bangalore highway stretched beneath them, gleaming in the golden wash of the evening sun. Fields shimmered on either side, green giving way to amber in waves. A soft breeze carried the scent of ripened crops and distant blossoms. The air felt unbothered, unhurried, like the world was in no rush to change. A silver Ford icon glided down the road, windows half down, music playing low, just enough to fold the moment in melody. Inside, warmth pulsed like a heartbeat. Kadhir didn't say much on drives like this. He preferred to listen, to the music, to Nisha's quiet humming, to the background buzz of his family's laughter. These were the kind of moments that didn't ask anything from him, and he liked it that way. Kadhir kept both hands on the wheel, his eyes calm, his posture relaxed. From the passenger seat, Nisha flipped through playlists on her phone, searching for the perfect track. Her soft humming filled the space between them, as comforting as the rhythm of the tires against the road. Every now and then, she looked over at him with a smile that said more than words needed to. In the back seat, Grandma sat nestled between Arunan and Divya. Her weathered hand rested on Arunan's shoulder, while the other tapped gently in rhythm with the music. The children playfully nudged and tickled each other, their laughter bouncing between the windows. Grandma occasionally raised a finger in mock warning, her lips pursed, but her eyes sparkled with mischief. Kadhir turned slightly and called out one of his dad jokes with theatrical flair. "Did you hear about the restaurant on the moon? Great food, no atmosphere." Divya erupted in laughter and tossed a cushion at him. Arunan immediately launched into questions about gravity and eating in space. Nisha rolled her eyes with affection. For a while, everything felt untouched by sorrow, just noise and love, suspended in amber, and then a flicker. As the car curved gently along a bend, Nisha glanced into the rearview mirror. A woman stood by the roadside. She wore a simple churidar, shoulders slightly stooped, hands folded. Her stillness was unsettling, not just because she wasn't moving, but because she seemed out of sync with everything around her, as if she didn't belong to this moment. Nisha caught a glimpse of her eyes, calm, too calm, like someone who already knew what was coming. Nisha blinked. The woman was gone. Only tall grass swayed where she had stood. A gust of wind passed through late, almost embarrassed to be behind schedule. A chill ran up her spine, unexpected in the warmth of the evening. She brushed the feeling off. Just a trick of the light, she told herself. Still, the music, so light just moments before, now seemed oddly distant. Her breath felt shallow. She turned toward Kadhir, about to speak. "Kadhir, watch out!" Her voice cracked with panic as a truck burst from a side road, its headlights flaring like twin suns. There was no time. Kadhir swerved instinctively. Metal collided with metal in a scream of violence. The car spun once, twice, then landed in a thunderous crunch on the roadside. The scent of burnt rubber, blood, and something sharp filled the air. Silence came next, thick and terrible. The horn jammed into a haunting wail. Smoke curled upward. Glass glittered on the floor like scattered ice. Kadhir blinked. For a moment, the world tilted sideways, blurry and without sound. Then everything rushed in at once. The wail hadn't stopped. It pierced the air like a wound that couldn't close. His seatbelt cut into his chest. His breath came short and shallow. Somewhere nearby, someone was crying. Nisha slumped beside him, her head resting at an unnatural angle. A thin trickle of blood ran down her forehead. He reached out, but his arm felt too heavy to lift. In the back, Divya whimpered, reaching for her grandmother. But Grandma didn't respond. Her hand, cold and heavy, still lay across Arunan's shoulder. The boy sat frozen, his small face blank, as if willing her to wake up just by staring. Then, past the haze, a shape emerged at the edge of the scene. The woman. She stood among the growing crowd of bystanders. No one seemed to notice her. Her eyes were steady, sad, expectant. Nisha stirred, dazed, her vision blurred. But as the sirens neared, she caught a glimpse through the window. The woman's silhouette. Something about her familiar, but the moment passed. Nisha blinked, and the figure was gone. Just another shadow swallowed by the flashing red lights. The highway, so full of laughter and life just minutes before, now lay still, scattered with glass, torn metal, and the fragile remnants of a family forever changed. The warmth was gone. Only silence remained. The ambulance howled down the city streets, red lights flashing through the blur of traffic. Its siren wailed like a wounded thing, urgent, unrelenting, until it halted at the emergency doors. Inside the hospital, fluorescent lights flickered overhead. The air reeked of antiseptic and anxiety. Every corridor echoed with the rush of footsteps, stretchers wheeling past, clipped instructions shouted across whitewashed walls. Paramedics swung open the ambulance doors. Out came the stretchers. Kadhir, Nisha, their children, and grandma, each one marred by pain and panic. Arunan and Divya clung to each other like lifelines. Grandma, still trembling, reached out to calm them, her whisper barely audible beneath the chaos. Only hours ago, they had been wrapped in sunlight and laughter. Now those memories felt distant. Fragile things drowned beneath the sterile brightness. Nisha winced as she was wheeled past unfamiliar faces. Her bruises throbbed, her mind whirring through fog and fear. She twisted, trying to catch sight of the others, of Kadhir. But he was nowhere. Not seeing him was worse than any injury. Elsewhere in the trauma ward, Kadhir lay motionless, surrounded by a wall of white coats. Monitors beeped. Nurses moved with focused speed. A doctor's voice cut through the tension with terrifying calm. Vitals unstable? Get the scans ready. We need to move fast. Their urgency said what no one dared to. It was serious. Hours passed. In the waiting area, Nisha sat on a plastic chair that creaked beneath her. Divya pressed close on one side, Arunan on the other. Her arms circled them both, holding them as if her will alone could keep the world from unraveling. They didn't speak. They didn't cry. Not yet. The antiseptic scent had settled into their clothes, their skin. Footsteps passed. Machines beeped. Conversations blurred around them, all meaningless noise. The last thing they had heard clearly was the doctor's words. We're doing everything we can. Every minute stretched thin with fear. Memories crowded in, of that morning's laughter, of Grandma's stories, of Kadhir's terrible joke, how fast joy could collapse, how thin the thread between normal and never again. Then, the corridor stilled. A doctor appeared. His expression was unreadable, his footsteps slow, his clipboard hugged tight to his chest. Nisha stood. He didn't need to speak. She saw it in his eyes. But he did speak. I'm very sorry. We did everything we could, but we couldn't save him. The world stopped. Nisha couldn't breathe. She wanted to scream, but only a whisper escaped. No! Divya's sobs broke the silence. Arunan's fingers tightened around Nisha's. Grandma, silent until now, pulled them all into her arms. She didn't cry. Not yet. She simply held them, tight enough to hold back time itself. Far across the waiting room, unnoticed by the others, a woman stood alone. Her clothes were plain, her face unreadable. She had no clipboard, no urgency, only stillness. She watched the family with quiet sorrow. Her presence felt like a whisper from another world. And when the morgue doors swung open, when the staff arrived to guide Nisha and the children onward, the woman turned. No one saw her leave. Her figure moved through the hospital's dim corridors like breath across glass, vanishing before the next set of lights could catch her. Machines beeped, beds shifted. A nurse laughed softly in the distance. Life continued. But for the Kadhir family, time had fractured. Their laughter now echoed only in memory, sharp, soft, and unreachable. And in the shadow of that silence, they understood what grief really was. Not a scream, not a storm, just a quiet, endless hum, a white noise that never truly fades. Morning sunlight filtered through thin curtains, casting golden streaks across the room. It was another school day in the heart of Bangalore, late 1990s, but something felt different. Kadhir, newly a teenager, sprang out of bed with an unusual sense of anticipation. He brushed his teeth to the scent of strong coffee drifting from the kitchen. He slipped into his school uniform and stood before the mirror. Straightening his collar, he caught his own reflection and smiled. Not because of how he looked, but because of how he felt. Alive. "Kadhir, you're getting late!" His mother's voice rang out from the kitchen, half scolding, half laughing. "Your friends will leave without you." He grabbed his bag and dashed out, skipping a step as he jumped from the last stair. Outside, the streets buzzed with life. Scooters zipped past, flower vendors called out their prices, and the scent of jasmine mingled with exhaust fumes. Kadhir walked with his friends toward the school gate, their chatter bouncing between jokes and last-minute homework panic. The campus was green and airy, an old school with ivy on its walls and banyan trees guarding the playground like ancient sentinels. Students formed noisy clusters across the courtyard, but Kadhir's eyes found one person, Nisha. She stood quietly at the edge of her group, her books clutched close. Thick glasses slipped down her nose. A simple braid rested over one shoulder. She wasn't flashy, but she had a stillness about her, like a lake before the first ripple. And then, she looked up. Their eyes met. It was only a second, but it was enough to set his heart racing. She looked away, her cheeks tinged with color. The moment passed, but something had shifted. In the corridor, Arjun elbowed Kadhir with a smirk. "She saw you." "She pretended not to," Kadhir replied, trying to sound casual, but it felt like lightning. Both boys broke into laughter. The school bell rang, cutting through their moment. Kadhir took his seat in class. Across the room, Nisha adjusted her glasses and opened her notebook. He watched her. She didn't notice, or maybe she did. The new physics substitute strode in, young, sharp-eyed, brimming with energy. "Good morning, class," he said. "Today we'll dive into a simple but strange question. What is time?" The class fell quiet, intrigued by the freshness in his voice. He drew diagrams on the board, space curving, clock slowing. "Einstein said time is not absolute. It bends with gravity. It moves differently for different observers." Kadhir raised his hand, his heart thumping. "Sir, if time is relative, does that mean how we feel about moments changes how long they seem to last?" Silence. The teacher paused, then smiled. "Exactly. That's relativity in its emotional form. Time isn't just clocks and calendars, it's perception. A joyful moment feels short. A painful one lasts forever. We measure time not just in seconds, but in feelings." The class murmured in agreement. And Nisha. She looked at Kadhir, really looked. It wasn't a shy glance anymore. It was quiet recognition. As class ended, Kadhir tried to act normal, but his hands trembled as he packed his books. He snuck a look at her, just once more. She caught him, smiled. It was small, it was fleeting, but it lit him up more than any sunrise. He walked out into the corridor, shoulders a little straighter, steps a little lighter. Arjun fell into pace beside him, still teasing, but Kadhir hardly heard him. Because somewhere between chalk dust and cosmic theories, something had ignited, not in the stars, but in him, a first spark.
மனம் அது உன்னை நினைத்து துடிக்கும் மறுக்கணம் சுகம் தரும் உன் நினைவுகள் என்னில் வெடிக்கும்